In a world of differences, it's understandable that we have different levels of which we find things comfortable and uncomfortable. When it comes to play, these lines can be very easily blurred. We get caught up in the moment, and it seems like almost anything is permissible. Let's take a second to think about a time when you were younger and you were playing with friends, playing with siblings, and something was okay for the other person to do to you, but not the other way around. Picture this. You have two children playing on a carpet, and they are building a tower with blocks, and they're trying to build a very tall tower. With that said, you can sort of see that the tower belongs to one of the children, and it's their idea to build up taller and taller and taller. As the tower has completed and it's made its final height, the other child then pushes the tower with all their might, and both children end up laughing their heads off. After they're done laughing, the children then go back to build, but this time, the child who pushed the tower down is the one who owns the tower, and they are building it higher and higher. You would think that now, seeing as this child pushed the tower down before, they would be okay with the other child pushing their tower down. As the final pieces make their way onto the tower, the children both look at the tower in amazement, and just as the child who owns the tower is admiring what they have built, the other child goes on to push all the blocks down and ends up laughing as they did before. The child who built the tower ends up being very upset and starts to scream at the other child who pushed the tower down. What do you think is going on in this situation? And how would you enter into this situation to support both children to understand what is going on? Now in this situation, these two children were very good friends, and they played quite a lot together. But they both had different boundaries when it came to what was okay for one and okay for the other. In a way, it's easy for us to assume that if they're both building, they're both playing together, that they would be okay with knocking down whatever they've built. But in the act of building, both children are experiencing and expressing different things. Some children are completely okay with building something and then knocking it down, while others are experiencing a lot of the effort and intentionality in building, and they don't want to see what they've built to be knocked down. Now, unfortunately, these are things that children don't usually communicate to one another. And so, as a teacher, my intention is to enter into this moment and acknowledge what both children are feeling, to give them the space to acknowledge what they were doing, the fun they were having, and at the same time, to help them recognize what they were both feeling when things took a turn. As I took time to speak to both of these children, they were able to understand that one of them was completely okay with having things knocked down, while the other one really wanted to admire and appreciate before knocking down. And so, having talked through what they were both hoping to do, they were able to then regroup, come back to the blocks, come back to this act of building, and then try it again with this new understanding. Oftentimes, we don't have the space to understand our differences, which then allows us to come back together to then rebuild upon what we know. Instead, our differences seem to divide us, and then make it even more difficult to come back and rebuild and enrich our relationship. When we provide children the space, when they are able to become aware and understand their differences, they're able to take the responsibility and initiative in deciding how they want to engage with their differences. By doing so, children can then see how their differences aren't bad. Rather, they help enrich their experiences and help them understand the world in a different way. As they do so, these different ways of seeing things, doing things, and thinking about things then helps children develop different and diverse ways to watch, think, be.